my name's Kendra Brazell, and I'm a mixed media abstract artist living in Florida. You might have seen me on Instagram. I make flowy watercolor paintings. Typically I use watercolors, acrylics, and ink on mineral paper. So I have a kind of a unique process. I get a lot of questions about it. So I've been trying to get a YouTube channel going. So this is my first video. So I'm gonna go through some of my supplies and sort of walk you through like slowly what I do. Usually my videos on Instagram are only about less than a minute long, so I oftentimes have to speed them up, and you're just only seeing the painting part, not the prep work that goes ahead of it. So the first thing I want to tell you about, and probably the thing I get asked the most, is what kind of paper I use. So I use something called mineral paper. It's made from calcium carbonate, and it has a small amount of plastic in it. So it's really a unique surface to work on. It stays flat. It can take a lot of water, and it's really kind of thin. So this is the one I use, and I'm sorry, I don't know how to flip it around. I couldn't get the video to flip around. So this is it. I typically get it from Blick or Jerry's Artorama. I don't recommend getting it from Amazon. They send it in a plastic bag, and it sometimes gets damaged. I've had a lot of people complain about that on Instagram, and I've experienced it myself. So it's really affordable. It's not expensive for this 20 sheet pad. It comes in 3 different kind of standard sizes. It comes in the 6x9, 9x12, and 11x14, and they all have 20 sheets. So I'm gonna pull the paper out, because the first time I got the paper, I was like, no way, I'm not gonna be able to paint on that. That's so thin, like it's practically transparent. So it is like 150 GSM, 100 pounds. So it's lighter than a watercolor paper in weight and feel. The next thing that is what I like to use are liquid watercolors, and I have a couple different kinds that I like to use, and I've learned a lot over the last, it's been about just a little over a year that I started doing this process and started documenting it on Instagram. I'm a big fan of kind of using what you have and playing with what you got until you sort of figure things out. It took me many failed, terrible paintings to figure this process out, but I kind of knew in my mind what I wanted to do, and I was really persistent with it. So at the time, the liquid watercolors I started with were these Ecoline watercolors, and I'd seen people paint with them. They're really vibrant. They come in lots of different colors. I think they have about 35 different shades or something like that, maybe more. But they're very thin, very watery, but they are really vibrant. The other type that I first tried were some that I got at Michael's. These are Daler Rowney, and I didn't really understand at the time why they were slightly different than these, and I would learn later that these are a pigment based. So these have actual pigments in here, and the dye-based ones do not. They're dye-based, these are pigment-based. So these ones can react a little bit differently. They're not quite as translucent, and they can have some granulation, and each one of the pigment-based ones is slightly different, whereas these dye-based ones are basically all the same exact consistency. So that's something I would learn over time. When I first started, I was only using the liquid watercolor, so I wasn't really getting the desired effect that I was looking for. I would come to discover Golden Paint's high flow acrylics. So they work really nicely with the watercolors. They're an acrylic paint, so they're not going to be as translucent. They're going to be more opaque, although they do sell some that are translucent. And when I first started, I just had like some basic colors. I had I think the yellow and the teal, black, white, indigo, maybe magenta, I'm not sure. I think it was like a pack of them that I had bought. But these also are pigment based, so they're really nice paints. People use them for airbrushing and the like, and I just can't say enough good things. I love these paints. These come in like 85 different colors, so any color you can imagine. I love the copper. I have some that are my favorites. They make fluorescent ones. They're just really cool. So what I found was when I combined them together with the watercolors, they wouldn't mix together. They would just kind of react with one another. And that was the effect that I was going for. And then more time passed. And as I was getting the process down, I somehow came across Bombay inks. So I bought some Dr. P.H. Martin ones. I bought a pack of a bunch of different colors. I think it had like a dozen different colors. They come in a smaller bottle than this, and I would use like a little pipette, but I love the white. I use the white almost every time I make a painting. They do have, all the other colors too. A little bit goes a long way with the ink. So those are kind of my main things. I do also get quite a bit of questions about the brush I use. This is just a Royal Langnickel acrylic brush. I got it at Michael's. It's like $14 or something. It's not expensive. It's flat bristle. It's a soft one, so this is the one that I like. And I also keep, trying to remember everything here. I like to keep 2 jars of water. I like to have one that I work with and then a cleaner one in case it gets a little too mucky. And the other tool that I can't live without is a trusty pipette. So this is great for adding a little bit of water in certain areas, and it's also nice for suctioning extra liquid off of the paper. So that's another part of the process that is not generally seen when I make my paintings for my reels. So anyway, I am going to flip this around and I'm gonna do a painting, and I'll walk you through how I layer it on there and stuff. So, okay, so I thought I might be able to do that without turning the camera off, but I was not. So I've got my paper laid out here. I work sometimes this way and sometimes this way. I do really like having this self-healing mat underneath. It just turned out to be a handy surface to paint on. I do like it though because it has the marks and I can sort of keep my paper straight. I can kind of tell when I do my little horizon line, like gives me like little places to aim to on each side. Incidentally, I just did my first artist talk where I did a demonstration, and it was the first time that I ever sort of made the painting and talked it through. So I guess that's a good thing because now I'm here explaining it to you. But I really get nervous to paint in front of people. I'm always worried that my painting's not going to turn out quite right. But at the end of the day, I have to tell you that one of the things that I love most about painting is just enjoying the process. So doing abstract art has helped me let go of that expectation of the outcome. So anyway, let's get going here. So I like to start with the liquid watercolor as my first base layer. So I will start by just making some little sort of squiggly lines across the page. Sometimes it's 1 liquid watercolor, sometimes it's 2. Today I'm going to use 2. That little peachy color is not very visible once it gets watered down. This is I never know what these colors are called because they don't say it on the bottle, they just give a number. So this is number 602. Then usually what I like to do is add the high flow acrylics, and I'm gonna use this Pyrrole Orange, Payne's Gray, which is my absolute probably all-time favorite color, and Titan Green Pale. This is a new one and I really like it. So for these, I like to go from dark to light. So start with the gray. And you'll notice I'm kind of dropping in the same areas where I initially dropped. When I first started trying to figure this process out, I would just completely randomly just drop across the page. But I've kind of learned that it's not really layering, but kind of. It's not very much. It's literally just drops. And these are all slightly different consistencies. This one's actually a little more thick than the other two. Now that I have spent a lot of time with these paints, and I have sort of learned which ones work well together and which ones don't. Good to have a rag. And now I'm going to use some of this white. Now this one I'm a little more into the open spaces where I didn't pile it up. It's kind of hard to explain. So now I'm just going to wet the paper, and this is another part of the process that I've kind of adjusted over time. So I used to just, well, first when I started, I didn't even wet the paper. I would just like go straight for the line. And somewhere, I don't know, one day I tried it like this, and I was like, oh, that's the magic right there. So I used to go all the way kind of up to the top, but I have kind of decided I sort of like just going about 2/3 of the way up. And then down here, we'll just do a nice little stroke. All right, and then we're just gonna take the wet brush and we're gonna connect the pigments to the wet part, and that is kind of where the magic happens. Just like so. I am honestly like barely touching the paper, just kind of wiggling it across. I really like this color combination. And then you can do this, and it just goes where it's wet. Sometimes you can kind of coax it down. People will ask if I'm on a tilted surface, and I'm not. It's just completely flat. And so typically, gosh, I feel like I'm saying typically a lot. If you've seen any of my videos on Instagram, this is kind of like where it stops. I love to use the pipette to draw up some of the liquid, because it will pool. I mean, it will dry. It's not in a wholly undesirable way, but this is just kind of how I've learned to do it to get the results that I personally like. So the pigments are settling into the paper, but differently than they do with watercolor paper. So it takes a little longer for them to settle in. I love the way that the paints dry on this paper. You get this kind of strata of paint layers because it dries sort of incrementally. Now you can use the pipette to, pull the pigments in certain directions. You could also use a paper towel or something to go along the edges and pull some of the water off as well. But I just really like using the pipette. So you can see that's kind of what it looks like in there, just kind of bubbly. But I love this right here. This is nice. I really like this color combination. When I'm looking for inspiration, or the way that I choose my colors is a lot of times based on just my mood, or could be something that I've experienced, music. I went to this particularly good symphony one night, and I was just so inspired. The music, I just came in the next day and I think I made like 5 paintings because I was just so inspired by the music. But it's different things, and sometimes I paint with music on, sometimes I like it just nice and quiet where I'm with my own thoughts. So it just kind of depends on my mood. So if you watch this and you have questions, I will absolutely do my best to answer questions. And if you have things you want to know in any future videos, I would be happy to take that into consideration. I would like to, I know people are really interested in this process, so I love to share it, and I hope that it's been informative and that you learned something. So I'm going to turn the camera off now. I'm going to leave it just like this. I leave it flat. It's probably can be moved in about maybe, I don't know, 10 or 15 minutes. I would maybe move it just to another flat surface, but you can see there's still some pretty liquidy stuff here, so maybe make one more section here. I realized it was still a little so wet there. But after about 10 or 15 minutes, the pigments will be pretty much set in place, but I want to keep it flat until it's completely dry. But I might move it so I can paint again, and we'll see how it turned out. Take about an hour to fully dry. All right, I'll be back. So this is the studio. It's actually located in an old historic train station, so it's a really fun spot. I've got artwork all around. Train tracks are right there, the trains go by. Got my desk set up. Got these nice windows that see out. I will give you guys a full studio tour maybe sometime soon. Anyway, this is my area where I film, so let's go ahead and take a look. I'm pretty happy with the way it came out. I want to thank you guys for watching, and I hope you learned something, and I hope I answered a question that you had, that you didn't know you had. I would love it if you would give me some feedback, and if you have any questions you'd like me to answer in the next video, please go ahead and leave it in the comments, and I'll do my best to answer everything. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Thanks again for watching.